Overthinking is exhausting. You replay the past, you stress about the future, and you analyze the present until you feel trapped in your own head. No matter how much you think, the answers don't come. Only more confusion, more anxiety, more sleepless nights. If this feels familiar, you're not alone. The truth is, your mind is not the enemy. It's simply untrained. Buddhism has spent over 2,500 years exploring the mind, and its teachings offer clear, practical ways to stop the cycle of overthinking and return to peace. In this video, we'll dive into 6 key Buddhist lessons that show you how to let go of unnecessary thoughts, quiet your inner noise, and live with more clarity and balance. If you've been searching for a way to finally free yourself from the endless loops in your head, stay with me, because what you're about to learn could change not just your thoughts, but your entire life. Overthinking almost always pulls us away from the present. We replay mistakes from the past, asking, what if I had done things differently? Or we fast forward into the future, imagining worst-case scenarios. Rarely do we just stay here, in this exact moment. And yet, Buddhism teaches us that the present moment is the only place where life is real. The past is memory. The future is imagination. Only now is alive. Think about it. When you're overthinking, where's your mind? It's not here. It's caught in yesterday or tomorrow. But if you pause and truly notice your breath, the ground under your feet, the sounds around you, you suddenly realize this is real life happening. This is where peace lives. There's a well-known Buddhist saying, do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment. It sounds simple, but it's radical. Because our culture trains us to do the opposite. Plan more, analyze more, replay more. That's why the practice of presence feels almost like a rebellion. It cuts against the grain of endless thinking. Let me share a story. A monk and his young student once came to a rushing river. The monk stepped into the water calmly and began crossing. The student froze. His thoughts screamed, what if I fall? What if I'm swept away? What if I can't make it? The monk looked back and said, the river always flows. The only way to cross is to be here, now, with each step. The student took a deep breath, let go of the storm in his mind, and slowly followed. He made it across safely. The river hadn't changed, only his presence had. Isn't that just like life? The current always flows. Worrying about what might happen doesn't stop the river. It only paralyzes us. When we step fully into the moment, we discover we can actually handle more than we thought. I remember facing something similar in my own life. During a period of heavy anxiety, I'd wake up each morning already thinking 10 steps ahead. Deadlines, bills, conversations I hadn't had yet. My body was in bed, but my mind was running through the future. One day, I decided to experiment. Instead of letting my thoughts race, I focused only on brushing my teeth, the taste of the toothpaste, the sound of the water, the feeling of the bristles. For 2 minutes, I was just there. To my surprise, those 2 minutes felt like an oasis. For once, my brain wasn't spinning in circles. That tiny practice became a gateway into presence. Presence doesn't mean ignoring the past or pretending the future doesn't matter. It means recognizing that the only point of power you have is right here. You can't relive yesterday. You can't pre-live tomorrow. But you can breathe now, act now, choose now. That's freedom. Here's something practical. The next time you catch yourself spiraling into overthinking, pause. Ask yourself, where am I right now? Not in theory, not in thought, but in reality. Notice your breath. Notice your body. Notice one sound around you. Anchoring yourself in these simple observations pulls you back into present. And something amazing happens when you live this way. Life feels lighter. You begin to see beauty in small things. The laughter of a child, the sunlight on the floor, the taste of your morning coffee. You realize peace isn't in some distant goal. It's hidden in the ordinary present, waiting for you to notice it. Overthinking loses its grip when you understand this truth. You don't need to solve everything in your head right now. You only need to live this moment fully. One breath, one step, one choice at a time. That's how clarity arises. So the first Buddhist teaching isn't just a nice idea. It's a practical tool. The present moment is the antidote to mental chaos. The question is, will you choose to step into it? Part 2, the freedom of letting go. One of the main engines behind overthinking is the urge to control. We want life to go our way. We want people to act the way we expect. We want outcomes to match the pictures in our heads. And when they don't, the mind spins endlessly. Why didn't it work? What should I do? How can I fix this? It's exhausting and yet so familiar. Buddhism teaches that much of our suffering comes not from what happens, but from our resistance to what happens. We grip tightly. We demand certainty. We try to push and pull reality into our preferred shape. But the truth is, life doesn't bend to our control. It flows on its own. Imagine holding sand in your hand. If you grip it tightly, it slips through your fingers. But if you relax your palm, the sand rests easily. Control works the same way. The harder you cling, the more things slip away. When you soften, when you allow, life settles more naturally. There's a famous Buddhist parable about a man who is swept away by a river. He panics, thrashes, and fights the current. The more he resists, the more exhausted he becomes. Finally, he surrenders. He lies on his back, lets the water carry him, and discovers the current brings him safely to shore. The river didn't change. His relationship to it did. That's the essence of letting go. Overthinking thrives on the illusion of control. You believe that if you think enough, analyze every angle, plan every possibility, you'll be safe. But has it ever really worked? Has endless worrying ever guaranteed a perfect outcome? Usually, it just drains our energy without changing the situation. I've experienced this firsthand. There was a time when I had a big decision to make, a career move that felt life-changing. For weeks, I obsessed over pros and cons, scenarios and what-ifs. I barely slept. Then one morning, exhausted, I thought, what if I stopped trying to force an answer? I let go. I stopped analyzing. Within a few days, clarity came on its own. It wasn't through control, but through release that the decision became obvious. This doesn't mean we give up on effort or responsibility. Letting go isn't about being careless. It's about recognizing the difference between what we can control and what we can't. You can control your actions, your words, your choices. You cannot control how others respond, how the future unfolds, or how every detail will play out. The Buddha taught the concept of non-attachment. It doesn't mean indifference. It means engaging fully in life without clinging to fixed outcomes. It's like planting a seed. You water it, nurture it, care for it, but you don't demand that it sprout exactly on your schedule. You trust the process. So here's a practice. The next time you catch yourself overthinking, ask, what part of this is truly in my control? Write it down. Then ask, what part of this is not in my control? And consciously release it. Maybe even say to yourself, I release what is not mine to carry. It's a simple shift, but powerful. You'll notice something. When you stop clinging to what you can't control, you free up energy to focus on what you can. Instead of trying to change the whole world, You put your energy into changing your response, your habits, your perspective, and often that small shift changes everything. Letting go is not weakness, it's wisdom. It takes strength to trust life, to allow uncertainty, to admit you don't control everything. But in that surrender, there's a deep peace. Overthinking loses its fuel because you no longer need to figure out every detail. You're no longer fighting reality. You're flowing with it. So the second Buddhist teaching is this. Freedom comes not from control, but from letting go. When you loosen your grip, life has room to move, and often it carries you exactly where you need to be. Part 3. The Truth of Impermanence. One of the deepest roots of overthinking is our desperate attempt to make life solid, permanent, and certain. We replay the past because we wish it could stay. We worry about the future because we want to control how it will turn out. We cling to people, to plans, to feelings, hoping they will last forever. But Buddhism reminds us of a powerful truth. Everything is impermanent. Impermanence doesn't mean sadness. It means reality. Every flower eventually wilts. Every season changes. Every joy and every sorrow rises and passes away. Even you and I are flowing through time, moment by moment. When we forget this, we suffer. When we remember it, we find peace. Think about the last time you were overwhelmed with worry. Maybe it was about money or a relationship or your health. In that moment, it felt permanent, didn't it? Like the fear or uncertainty would last forever. But did it? Chances are it shifted. The problem resolved, or changed shape, or your perspective softened. The storm passed. It always does. The Buddha used a metaphor of the sky and the clouds. Our thoughts and emotions are like clouds, sometimes heavy and dark, sometimes light and drifting. But the sky is vast, open, untouched. Overthinking convinces us that the clouds are everything. But if we remember the truth of impermanence, we realize the clouds always move. The sky remains. There's also the story of a king who once asked a wise sage for a single sentence that would be true in all situations, whether good or bad. The sage replied, "This too shall pass." That is impermanence in action. Your joys will pass. Your sorrows will pass. Your thoughts will pass. Overthinking tries to trap you in the illusion of forever, but impermanence sets you free. I'll share something personal. Years ago, I went through a breakup that left me devastated. My mind wouldn't stop replaying what happened, what I should have done differently, how I could fix it. I felt like the pain would never end. But little by little, as weeks and months passed, the ache softened. One day, I realized I was laughing again, noticing small joys again. The breakup didn't vanish overnight, but impermanence worked quietly, gently, until healing came. Looking back, I wish I had trusted that truth sooner. Impermanence is not just about pain. It's also about beauty. Think of a sunset. It's breathtaking precisely because it doesn't last. If the sky stayed orange and pink forever, will we treasure as much? Or think of a blooming flower, fragile, temporary, yet so precious. Impermanence teaches us to savor the present because we know it won't last. So, how does this help with overthinking? When you're caught in endless loops of thought, remind yourself, this too will pass. The worry, the fear, the uncertainty, none of it is permanent. Even the thoughts themselves are impermanent. Notice how one thought comes, then another, they rise and fall like waves. You don't need to hold on to them. You don't need to fix them. You only need to watch them come and go. Here's a practice. Next time you're anxious, imagine your thoughts as leaves floating down a stream. Each thought drifts by, then disappears around the bend. You don't chase the leaves. You don't try to stop the stream. You simply watch. That's impermanence in motion. When you truly understand impermanence, overthinking loses its grip. You realize no problem, no fear, no situation lasts forever. And that brings incredible relief. Instead of being trapped in the illusion of permanence, you open to the flow of change. So the third Buddhist teaching is this: everything changes when you accept impermanence. You stop clinging. When you stop clinging, the mind softens. And in that softness, peace naturally arises. Part 4, mindfulness, watching the mind without fighting it. Overthinking feels like being trapped in a storm. Thoughts swirl endlessly. What you said yesterday, what might happen tomorrow, what someone thinks of you. The more you try to push them away, the louder they get. But Buddhism offers a radical solution. Don't fight the thoughts. Watch them. This is the heart of mindfulness. Mindfulness means paying attention on purpose, in the present moment without judgment. It's not about stopping your thoughts or making your mind blank. Instead, it's about seeing thoughts for what they are. Just thoughts, not ultimate truths. Imagine sitting by the side of a road. Cars drive past, some fast, some slow, some noisy, some quiet. Normally, when thoughts appear, we chase after them like running into traffic. We get carried away. What if this happens? Maybe I should do that. But with mindfulness, we stay on the sidewalk. We notice the cars passing, but we don't have to jump into every one. There's a famous Buddhist teaching. You cannot stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. Mindfulness is that surfboard. It doesn't remove the waves of thought. It helps you ride them with balance. Here's a simple practice. Sit quietly for a few minutes. Focus on your breath, the rise and fall of your chest, the air moving in and out. Soon, a thought will come. Did I reply to that message? Instead of chasing it, simply notice, thinking, then gently return to your breath. A worry may pop up. What if tomorrow goes badly? Again, just label it thinking. You don't need to argue with it or fix it. You simply observe, then return. Over time, you'll see that thoughts lose their power when you stop feeding them. I remember when I first tried mindfulness, I was shocked by how many thoughts my mind produced every minute. It was like a waterfall. At first, I felt frustrated. I can't stop them. But my teacher explained, you're not supposed to stop them. You're supposed to notice them. Awareness itself is the practice. That shifted everything. I realized my job wasn't to control the mind, but to witness it. There's a story of 2 arrows in Buddhism. The first arrow is pain. Something difficult happens in life. The second arrow is suffering. All the thoughts and stories we add on top. Why me? This is unfair. It will never end. Mindfulness helps us stop shooting the second arrow. We feel the pain, but we don't multiply it with endless thinking. Think about it. How many nights have you lost the second arrow? A simple mistake turns into hours of mental replay. A small worry turns into a mountain of what-ifs. With mindfulness, you see the thought arise, acknowledge it, and let it pass before it spirals out of control. Here's another exercise. Try mindful walking. As you walk, instead of letting your mind spin, bring your attention to each step. Feel your foot touch the ground. Notice the rhythm of your body. If a thought arises, acknowledge it, then return to the step. It sounds small, but it's incredibly grounding. The beauty of mindfulness is that it reveals a simple truth. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. Thoughts come and go, but awareness stays. like clouds drifting across the sky. They can't harm the vast space of your mind unless you cling to them. Over time, this practice transforms overthinking. Instead of drowning in every thought, you develop space between you and the mind. You see clearly, this is just worry. This is just memory. This is just fear. And with that clarity, the storm loses its power. So the fourth Buddhist teaching is this: observe, don't absorb. When you watch your thoughts with mindfulness, you stop being trapped in them. You discover a calm, steady presence that has been there all along, and that is where true peace lives. Part 5, the middle way, finding balance in a world of extremes. One reason overthinking feels so heavy is because the mind loves extremes. We swing between everything will go wrong and everything must be perfect. We chase certainty or collapse into despair. Rarely do we rest in balance. The Buddha understood this deeply, and his teaching the middle way is a direct antidote. The middle way was the Buddha's own discovery. Before his enlightenment, he tried two extremes. First, he lived in luxury as a prince, indulging in every comfort. Yet he found himself unsatisfied, restless, still searching. Later, he swung to the opposite extreme, practicing harsh asceticism, starving himself, denying the body, pushing to the edge of death. But this too brought no peace. Finally, he realized true wisdom is not found in extremes, but in balance, a path of moderation, neither indulgence nor denial. That became the middle way. When it comes to overthinking, our extremes show up in different forms. Sometimes we push too hard, analyzing every detail, obsessing over decisions, trying to force answers. Other times we collapse, giving up, avoiding, letting fear paralyze us. Both extremes create suffering. But the middle way says, there's another option. You can think, but not overthink. You can care without clinging. You can prepare without obsessing. Think of a guitar string. If it's too tight, it snaps. If it's too loose, it makes no sound. Only when it's tuned just right does it create music. Your mind is the same. Too much control, and you break under pressure. Too little, and you drift aimlessly. Balance creates harmony. I once knew someone who spent weeks agonizing over a simple decision, whether to accept a new job. He made endless lists, asked dozens of people for advice, and kept revisiting the same pros and cons. Finally, he laughed and said, I think I've spent more energy thinking about this job than it will actually take to do it. That's the trap of imbalance. If he had applied the middle way, he could have allowed himself enough thought to make a wise choice, but not so much that it consumed him. The middle way also applies to how we relate to emotions. When anxiety comes, one extreme is to fight it. I shouldn't feel this way. The other is to drown in it. This feeling will ruin me. The middle way is to notice the anxiety with compassion, without rejecting it or clinging to it. You acknowledge, anxiety is here right now. You breathe. You let it pass in its own time. Here's a practice to try. The next time you feel stuck in overthinking, pause and ask, am I leaning into an extreme? Am I clinging too tightly, demanding a perfect outcome? Or am I giving up entirely, letting fear or doubt take over? Then gently guide yourself back to balance. Enough effort to be responsible, enough release to stay free. The beauty of the middle way is that it doesn't reject life. It doesn't say you shouldn't think, plan, or care. It simply invites you to do these things with wisdom, without going extremes. It's a gentle reminder that peace is not found in all or nothing, but in the quiet space in between. So the fifth Buddhist teaching is this: choose balance. When you walk the middle way, You free yourself from the exhausting swing of extremes. Overthinking softens, clarity grows, and life becomes more harmonious, like a well-tuned instrument playing the music of the present moment. Part 6, Compassion for Yourself, Softening the Inner Critic. One of the hidden fuels of overthinking is self-criticism. How many of your thoughts begin with, I should have, I shouldn't have, why am I like this? What's wrong with me? The mind becomes like a harsh judge, replaying every mistake, punishing every flaw. And the more you attack yourself, the more you think, try and find a way to be good enough. Buddhism teaches that compassion is not just something we offer others. It's something we must offer ourselves. The Buddha often spoke of metta, or loving kindness. He said, you yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. Think about that. You are not excluded from compassion. In fact, self-compassion is a foundation for peace of mind. When you're caught in overthinking, notice how often the inner critic shows up. Maybe you replay a conversation, scolding yourself. I sounded stupid. I always mess things up. Or you worry about the future, saying, I'm not strong enough. I'll fail. These voices tighten the mind, keeping you stuck. Compassion works like an open hand. It softens the grip of judgment and creates space for healing. There's a story of a monk who made a mistake during a ceremony, spilling the water he was carrying. He froze in shame, expecting punishment. But his teacher simply smiled and said, even spilled water nourishes the earth. That small act of kindness transformed the moment. Instead of overthinking his failure, the monk learned to see imperfection with gentleness. I once struggled with this myself. For years, whenever I made a mistake, I would spiral into harsh thoughts. I'd replay the event over and over, searching for what I could have done differently. One day, a meditation teacher asked me, would you speak to a friend the way you speak to yourself? The answer was obvious. Never. That question woke me up. I realized my mind didn't need more criticism. It needed compassion. So how do we practice this? One method is called metta meditation. Sit quietly, breathe, and silently repeat phrases like, may I be safe, may I be peaceful, may I be kind to myself. At first, it might feel awkward, especially if your inner critic has been loud for years. But over time, these words sink in, softening the harsh edges of your mind. Compassion also means allowing yourself to be human. Mistakes, uncertainty, and imperfection are part of life. Overthinking tries to demand perfection, the perfect decision, the perfect action, the perfect self. Compassion says, it's okay to be imperfect. It's okay to not know. It's okay to try and stumble. When you treat yourself with kindness, overthinking loses its fuel. Why? Because much of overthinking is an attempt to escape self-judgment. If I analyze enough, maybe I won't fail. If I think hard enough, maybe I won't be blamed. But when you already meet yourself with compassion, the fear of failure softens. You don't need to overthink to protect yourself. Here's a small but powerful practice. The next time you catch your inner critic speaking, pause. Place your hand gently over your heart. Take a breath and say to yourself, I am doing my best. I deserve kindness too. It may feel simple, but these words can interrupt the cycle of self-attack and bring you back to peace. So the sixth Buddhist teaching is this: be kind to yourself. Compassion dissolves the harsh judgments that fuel overthinking. When you replace self-criticism with gentleness, your mind no longer needs to run in circles. Instead, it can finally rest in kindness, in acceptance, in peace. Overthinking doesn't have to control your life. The Buddhist teachings remind us that peace is not found by thinking harder, but by letting go of the past, the future, the illusion of control, the endless noise inside the mind. True peace comes when you simplify, when you breathe, when you treat yourself with compassion, and when you trust that every storm will eventually pass. If even one of these lessons spoke to you today, I invite you to take it with you, not just as an idea, but as a practice in your daily life. And if you found this video meaningful, please give a like, share it with someone you know who might be trapped in overthinking, and leave a comment below about which teaching resonated with you most. Your story might be the light someone else needs. Remember, you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. And the more you return to that awareness, the more freedom, clarity, and peace you will discover. Stay present, stay peaceful, and may your path always lead you back to the calm within.